What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Yokai Delinquents podcast. I am Sean, Bearded Cappolitan.
And I am Jerry Robo Tingu Smith, and today we have a very, very special guest for you, someone near and dear to my heart. Steph, introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Stephanie, the Oni Pony Straw.
That's perfect.
The Oni Pony. Love it.
Yeah, I thought I needed a yokai name since, you two have like a name and then your yokai name, so
that's true.
I wanted to be a delinquent. It's a Oni that is also a pony.
And while I'm sure I will be
great.
having to look up, I'm sure there is a Japanese demon pony somewhere in their lexicon.
Oh, almost certainly. They have evil versions of literally everything.
Literally everything, including umbrellas and walls. But Stephanie, why don't you go ahead and tell these fine people, our fine listeners, a little bit about yourself?
I am from Arkansas, but moved to Seattle with Jerry a year ago. Actually, I came up here a year prior to that, so I've been here a little bit longer. Came up here for work. I am Jerry's life partner.
Hi.
And I am a lover of all things geek. I call myself an omni geek because I'm pretty into everything. I'm into, video games. I'm into tabletop games. I'm into comics. I'm into anime. Not, some of those like range of interest level, but
of course.
Building models, doing crafts, hobbies, reading books, films. Yeah, I'm just a geek.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. And so as a guest on the show, we always give the guests the honor of the very first topic of discussion. So, Stephanie, what do you want to talk about?
Hey, let's talk about tabletop gaming to include RPG board games.
Okay. So,
No, I don't want to.
Well, there we go. Thank you for coming to join us
on the show.
We are currently living in an apartment made of board games, okay? I've had enough.
So, I know, Steph, I know you're in deep, the average, call it the normie side, like myself. I have played some of the more adventurous kind of board games, but a lot of listeners may, they hear board game, they think kind of the basics, Monopoly, maybe even Risk if they had a military family like myself. But why don't you give us some examples of some of the games you like that's maybe on that, not in the normal spectrum of board games.
Yeah, there are so many, and I am a board games are for everybody. So I'm not a elitist. I'm not like, oh, Monopoly is not cool. You can certainly play and enjoy Monopoly, and I think that's fantastic. But there are other games out there. We are kind of in the golden age of board gaming. I think this year, 2020, the pandemic has only sort of secured that with people staying indoors.
For sure.
Video games and board games are probably on the rise. Some of my favorite board games are the spooky cooperative ones, like Arkham Horror, Horrified, which is a game that I helped create because I worked for Funko Games, and we designed board games. I did that for a living. Right. So Horrified has the universal monsters in it, which is really cool. So Dracula and Frankenstein's monster and all that stuff.
Oh, neat. Now, I believe we played Arkham Horror, Jerry, at your place years ago. Is that the one where you're taking on the Elder Gods? Because Arkham, I'm assuming that is like the H.P. Lovecraft kind of. Yeah, that one. Now, I don't know if we played it bad. Sorry, go ahead.
It's all of the Arkham games are that fucking brutal. It's just it's supposed to drive you insane, essentially.
Well, yeah, and
is what I gathered from playing those games.
Yeah, and no, it was a ton of fun. But I
remember,
remember, Yeah, because it was a ton of fun, but like I swear, and like for y'all to get an idea how some in depth some of these games go, it was pretty much like a Dungeons and Dragons session of we got our characters and our abilities, and it took many hours for us to take down the Elder God that we chose that chose at a random.
Yeah, and then she also mentioned Horrified, and let me say that is one of my favorite like current board games that's out right now.
Yeah,
Like it
I
is
don't know
just
that one.
so much fun. Essentially, you have a bunch of characters that you pick from, and they're all from like the different Universal movies, like different characters from that lore. And
Mm-hmm.
then you go in, and depending on how difficult you want the game to be, you will randomly pick monsters to fight, and each monster has its own rule and own weaknesses and ways that you beat them. And it's a really fun game. Like the pieces and everything are designed really well in it. Just the board itself, we'll have to send you some screenshots and stuff of it later on, just so you can see how cool it is.
Oh,
It's
for
pretty
sure,
neat.
for sure.
Oh,
That,
artwork is gorgeous. The design studio that I worked for, I don't now. I work for a charity nonprofit organization,
right
which
on.
I can talk about. But they just really go all out. It was an artist group, I think, in Toronto, and they just amazing, so good. And Horrified in particular has all of the different characters that Jerry mentioned.
Right.
They're are very inclusive, so there's something for everybody. There's all different types of genders, races, ages, abilities,
Oh, okay.
etc.
Oh, very cool, very cool, and it's nice to get that that progression outside of the. I guess you could probably, I would assume, like in the older games, I probably had this kind of theme of just kind of the cut and paste kind of main characters and stuff. So that's really cool that they're the forward progression like that.
And games like this are available at like big mass stores, like big box stores like Target, Walmart, Amazon. They're really easy to get now. It's not
Right.
like you have to go to a game store, although I do recommend if you have a local game store checking it out and giving them some love.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean that's cool. That's something you had a part in creating is out there on the store. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now there was one game. I know I played again. Like I said, Jerry really opened me up to I know. Granted, we did play some Monopoly with Leland quite a bit because that was his jam.
You did.
I
You did.
did. Yes.
My favorite thing about like hearing Leland go on and on about Monopoly is that like he would always lose. Like he would always
Yeah.
be the first one out. It's like, really? You're gonna hype yourself up on Monopoly and get everyone to play it, and then just be the first one out.
Right, but one of the and one of the games we did play though, I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. It was kind of like a building of tiles, like as you went through like a haunted house or something.
Yes, Betrayal.
Betrayal. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, yeah, those were some fun games. Yeah, Betrayal is a lot of fun, and like you get a lot of different like scenarios by the end of that game. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, that's the cool thing about that game is it's different every time, but it will still feel familiar because the way that you play is, mostly the same until you get to the haunt and there's a betrayer.
Right.
But there's like tons of different scenarios and they've even added more and there's like a Baldur's Gate one now.
Ooh.
So yeah, different themes. And there's even a legacy version, which I helped play test,
Nice.
which the choices you make actually affect the game. So that one you can only play once because you actually like rip up tiles, add in tiles, sticker things, and
Oh.
like. But it's really cool the way that like you have an effect on the game, like your gameplay, like whatever happened in the last session, in the next session, it'll be different based on what happened before. But I still run into scenarios that I'd never seen before whenever I play, and I've played that game a lot.
Oh wow. No, yeah, that is neat. Cause yeah, I'm an old man. My memory is going the longer I don't do things. But I remember like specifically at least the one or I played a couple times at least, and one of them I remember like 'cause I believe there was in the version we had one of the characters is like a young kid, and he was the haunt, like he was the traitor. Whatever, and like there was something I thought very cool about like how everyone's kind of playing adult characters, and the evil like possessed person is a young child. So you kind of like you get that darker narrative. You may not think about. You may not always think you would run into in like board games.
Kids are creepy, Sean.
Yeah, kids are the worst.
There there was a time that that I was playing with some folks, and they have like I think a little boy and a little girl character on it, and I can't remember who was playing which one, but they like stacked like all of the best things for fighting, and were seriously strong arming everything from the haunt. It was pretty amazing. We were like, oh god, this kid is just wrecking shop.
Well, that's very cool. Is there any like games y'all play since now that y'all live together now for a while? Has there been any games you guys have particularly had some fun with?
We played a game called Seventh Continent, which is like a tile laying game where you explore these areas, and you there are different curses that you're trying to cure or heal. And this one is like, I don't even know how to describe this. It's sort of like a choose your own adventure type of game where
Okay.
you have different areas you can explore, and then you'll pull from some cards. So like it might say, oh, I want to like go to the top of this mountain. So it'll say 101. So you have a stack of cards 101, and you pick a random one from that stack. So your encounter at the top of the mountain will be like something different based
Oh,
on, whatever you pull. And even the directions that you go might look different. Like you might be going through a swamp and it'll say pull card 202, and then you pull from a different stack of stuff, and whichever card you pull will be what that looks like. So you're building out this world. You need a whole table for this, a huge
right,
huge
right.
table.
Yeah, this is the reason we do not have a dining room table. We have a table that just has either board games or a spread out board game on it.
Oh, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
No, Seven Continent was really fun. We actually played that over the span of a few weekends just because it was so massive.
Right.
And you get like it's really cool because you pick up once you finish like some kind of skill check or something. Occasionally you'll get rewards for it, and it'll be like items that you can craft, but you need specific things to craft them. So you'll like, oh, I need wood to do this, so you'll have to go to an area that has wood. And then once you craft that stuff, it helps with other skill checks later on, so you can pass like harder skill checks.
Yeah, that's neat.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
oh,
it was pretty fun.
now, and that's what I'm kind of digging. Me not being too deep into the board game scene, and to me, this is a fairly newer concept of those games that have like really almost unlimited playability because, like you said, how it's like those custom tiles. Like no two games are going to be the same, like hardly ever, if at all. And that makes replayability. You can only play Monopoly so many times before. And I know I keep knocking on Monopoly, but that's like Leland. But
Yeah.
you can only so many times before with the same group of people where you're just okay, I'm gonna get a property, I'm gonna try and trade you, you're gonna short me, and then we're gonna play house rules that make it go on for fucking ever. So, but yeah, I'm really digging those ideas of like how you can buy one game and have damn near infinite kind of like replayability because it can be different every time.
Yeah, another one that we've been doing is these exit games and these unlock games, and
Mm.
they're kind of like I think escape roomy vibe, like puzzles that you have to kind of figure out, like,
Oh,
oh, there's a lock, how do I open it? That kind of stuff. And they're pretty quick, so you can play them in like an hour or so or less. And they have a bunch of different themes, like a haunted mansion or a forbidden castle or like an island getaway thing. But those are really neat. And I think you could probably find those. I don't know if those are in like big box stores, but definitely online and
right.
your friendly local game store.
No, that sounds cool because, like, honestly, in like video games and stuff, I love like puzzle solving games, and we've always talked. Me and the wife and Ed have always talked about doing like an escape room kind of thing. I really actually like that kind of stuff. Sadly, I never implemented it very well in like my Pathfinder DMing days. I would have loved to have done that, especially with this group of characters that we had playing in there. So then a game like that, I didn't even know those were a thing. That's actually really cool. I might have to look into
Yeah,
that.
I think that you and Vanetta would really like the unlock ones because
Hmm.
there's an app. So like you'll get to something and it'll be like a machine that you have to figure out and you on the and it's also timed, so the app is timing you.
Right,
And so
right.
some things might happen like as the time goes on, but you might actually do like a puzzle on your phone or something like that as part of the game too. Once you've done it obviously because you've
Right,
solved
right.
everything. So you can't do them again, but I probably have some that that I've done that we can't do again that I could send your way.
Ooh, I
I
love
do
that.
think that yeah, I think that you and Vanette would really like that.
Yeah, because there's a video game series called Professor Layton. Don't know if either of y'all ever mess with those or heard of them, but it's literally just like brain puzzles done in kind of a Sherlock Holmes solving a mystery kind of thing, and those are like super fun. And the idea, I guess, of like, yeah, I mean, granted, unfortunately, like you said, it's kind of one and done, but that's still pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna complain if one ends up on my doorstep. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, they're pretty inexpensive, so even if they're one and done, it's not bad. Like
Okay.
$10,
Oh,
$15 maybe.
yeah.
So it's not that bad. I mean, movie tickets.
Right,
Remember
right.
movie theaters, y'all?
We don't talk about the before times. Movie theaters don't exist anymore.
Yeah. So that's cheaper than going to the movies. So
Oh,
it's certainly not a bad time for an hour or so.
oh no, absolutely. That does sound very cool. So, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna bring up another interesting thing that we kind of got into, but it's like way more on the pricier end. And like I don't know, I kind of feel like we sort of started with the wrong one necessarily. And you actually did one of these with me at one point, and that's the Mysterious Package Company.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we
did a
did that
little
one.
bit.
Yeah, that one from the Adventure Zone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just kind of like predicting the future here before we start getting our advertisements and they start paying us money to advertise for them and stuff like that. But no, it's this neat little thing where you pay a one time fee and they send you and it's essentially like an experience. And they have this entire story kind of planned out, and you have all these things for a puzzle to solve. And in the Adventure Zone one that we did, it was kind of neat because it had this like app function where the McElroy brothers and their dad pre-recorded a message on a like a was it like a Hearthstone or Stern of Far speech or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so as you would complete puzzles and stuff like that, you would enter something in on the phone, and then it'd continue the plot of that. I think the one that Steph and I did, it was a little weird. It was time travel based, so I was kind of like, oh, cool, something time travel. But there was like no real like for sure like okay we ended this or whatever. And I think a lot of the other ones are supposed to be more of like cut and dry, like you solve this puzzle so that gives you access to this and so on
Right.
and so forth until you have like a clear answer. So next time we order we'll look at reviews a bit more and order something. But it's a really interesting concept, and I really like the whole idea of the company and how they do it. And they always send you a bunch of really cool shit. Like even though the one that we did wasn't like amazing and blowing our mind, they sent us some like really like interesting like quality stuff with it. It was
Oh,
really cool.
well, that's always a bonus because, as you said, they're not necessarily the cheapest thing. But like, I know from what I saw, because I believe the Avengers Zone was like either a multi package or y'all had to do it kind of over the course of time. But I was there, and actually, I don't know if you remember how excited and into it I was, even though I think I missed the first part of what y'all did. But I came in time to figure out a cipher. Like figuring out how a language, which I never thought that'd be something I was doing. But I remember I was just like look at the symbols, look at the words that hint clue, and I was like putting that shit together. I was a little proud of myself.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that because you were like, I'm not gonna be good at this and stuff like that. And that's usually how it is with people with stuff like that. And then we left the room for whatever reason. I think we went to go get like a pizza or something like that real quick. And when we came back, Sean had this entire like alphabet like figured out of all these letters and symbols and stuff. It's fucking
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, Sean was like, I solved it, everybody.
Yeah, here it is. I didn't pay for any of this, but here's your answers. Yeah, but that was that's also very cool. Yeah, man, I honestly I completely forgot about that, but that was a lot of fun.
If we ever run into another one, because we're definitely planning on doing it again, like later on down the road. But we will totally, like recommend one, and I don't know, maybe you and Vanetta could do it, or you could go to John and Noel's, and you guys can do it, or something like that. It'd be pretty neat.
Oh, of course. I mean
Hey, remember hanging out with friends in person?
no, no, I
I'm
don't.
never going to be invited on the show again.
No, yeah, unfortunately, the hangouts have definitely been a lot lessened, but that's kind of what pushed for this show's existence. To be, really, I got tired of texting Jerry and wanted to start yelling at him over the miles of this country. you know,
A lot of the board games actually have apps, like really good apps too. Like there's a bunch of good games on Nintendo Switch,
yep.
even games that we would call hobby games. I'm using that term to just describe like games that probably not always, but probably you're not just gonna like pick up if you've never played a board game before and be like, oh, I'm gonna check this out. They're usually a little more
Right.
involved. The rule books, robust, that kind of thing. That's not to say that there are like easy entry level games. Like no gatekeeping here for
No,
sure,
no, of course.
but yeah, but there's a lot of even really good hobby games, apps on Switch, on Steam. Some of them even just have their own version. If you go to a website, Jerry and I with our friend John and April played Codenames online, and you just go to the website. And this game's kind of neat because it's cooperatives but teams, and you have a spy master on each team, and you're trying to get your team to guess these words on a grid using other words, which sounds not fun at all, but it's a lot. It is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend checking it out. Code Names. It has a
Okay.
couple of different board game versions, and then you can go online and play it as well.
Oh, that's cool. And yeah, you're seeing that actually more like I know, like you mentioned the Switch. I know I've seen. I'm pretty sure it has a Settlers of Catan. Has like its own video game version, which I know that was like for me at least, not really being in the circle. That was probably the first game that I saw like a board game where like building resources and trading. Like okay, this isn't just trying to get from one end of the board to the other. You're again back to your kind of your standard family board games. And yeah, I've seen like the change from to the digital board game in a sense.
Yeah, actually, Settlers of Catan was the first in 2005. Was the first time I played it, and that was like what launched my foray into the love of board games to now have 500 plus board games. Sorry, Jerry.
We are literally in a house of board games. Sean, please help me. I rolled over the other night in bed and just had board games cascade onto my body.
I
It was
feel
very
like
painful.
I feel like whenever I actually manage to come out there and visit y'all, you're like, "Hey, Sean, we saved you the good seat," and it's just the board games you no longer play in the shape of a chair, stacked upon each other. And like, here, this is the comfy one.
Yeah, much like how the One Piece collection got at the old place.
Oh yeah, yeah, just a pile of Luffy's for you called it a beanbag chair. It's still finding
Yeah, so
parts.
Jerry's one to talk. How many comic books do we have? Our the
Oh,
apartment could go up in flames with how much cardboard and paper we have, basically.
I mean
It
that's.
is very flammable in here.
I mean, it sounds like a standard nerd room or house in this case. Like, I mean, I turn around, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of canvases and art and comic books and boxes everywhere in my room itself, where I'm recording. So I think that's just kind of the that's the risk you run when you live that nerd life. You know what I'm saying? You're just gonna either get suffocated by your collections or burned to death with them.
Yeah, Catan actually has a Pokemon Go game. Like
What?
it's like a Catan, I forget what it's called, like World Builders or something like that. But it's by Niantic, the same company that did, Ingress and Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yeah, it's the same hubs, that are in Ingress and Pokemon Go and that kind of stuff. And you're gathering resources. I play tested it a little bit, haven't really played it since. I think it's fully launched. But if you're interested,
Right.
listener, if you're out there and that sounds like your cup of tea, go for it.
Hey, somebody might dig that. I mean, the Pokemon's Go was, I don't know if it's still big, but it was definitely big for a while. I know me and Jerry definitely played it for a lot, quite a bit, especially when we went to Japan. So yeah, I mean, someone out there might sound good. Like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna walk down the street and collect corn. I don't know what resources you collect in Catan. I never played it.
Corn.
Corn. That's where I went to first.
It's just corn. It's
Just
all
corn.
corn.
That's
Settlers
the
of
entire
Corn
game.
Tan.
That's the entire game.
Yep.
You just collect corn, and it's not even like food. It's the band. Like you collect members of the band Corn.
Look, the resource.
I'm actually kind of into this crossover here. We are seeing actually sort of speaking of licensed properties like corn. What something that my design studio that I worked for, they specialized in is taking IP like Disney and Star Wars and Universal Monsters and Back to the Future and making a solid game out of those. Not just kind of slapping on IP, to like a matching game, but like legit games that are thematic and really make you feel like if you're a fan of Back to the Future, then the Back to the Future game is like a love letter to you as a fan, and you'll be like, oh, I get this reference, and and stuff like that. But it's a good way to bring people into the hobby, into board gaming, that are maybe a little nervous about it, or just maybe like aren't interested in corn, like Settlers of Catan. If they go, hey, you know what, I like Back to the Future, I'll play that game. It's really cool that people have been kind of coming into the hobby with these like quality licensed games.
No, that is cool because I mean, typically what I see is like because I know I bought a few for our buddy Leland. Like they'll have Monopoly Zelda edition, or I think there's even been like a My Hero Academia one. So actually licensing and making its own original game for that product is very cool. Because I mean, not to say hey if they had a One Piece Monopoly, I'm not gonna lie, like I wouldn't buy that thing. But like an actual One Piece board game where it feels like you're playing the anime would be fucking cool as hell.
I pitched it. I think that for our company, and maybe just license it in general. I know I did try to get a One Piece game going, but I think typically those Japanese licenses, they don't always give those out to American companies, too often. Same thing with the video games. Like Nintendo is like sometimes untouchable.
Oh, I'm sure, unless it's like kind of a Nintendo, especially in their case, they've taken so many chances with their properties. They're especially very tight because I know they made like a Mario and a Zelda like Monopoly, but Monopoly has already been such an established game. They probably felt that was a safe venture, but yeah, I can imagine they would be a little paranoid, to kind of just like, hey, hand this over to somebody else with our our IP and trust them completely. Because the last time they did that, we got the Super Mario Brothers movie, and we all know how that went.
What are you talking about? It went really well, Sean.
Look, the live action, the Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, the Marios, Mario, and Luigi Mario. That's their full names. I'm not saying that movie ain't got like a cult following. It has some charm of its own, but Nintendo has like been very tight about their IPs ever since that movie.
We did make a Godzilla game. It was an anniversary year this year for Godzilla. And there is now a Godzilla game where you play as different kaiju. Guess there are 4 kaiju in there. Guess which 4, Sean?
I'm gonna have to throw out, of course, Godzilla. He's in the title. King Ghidorah, Mothra.
Yep, that's one of them.
Only one out of those?
Wait, who all did you say? You said Godzilla, King Ghidorah, who else?
Ghidorah and Mothra.
Mothra's in there. One more.
Oh man, see, because those are like the big 3. So now I'm like, my heart wants to say Gigan because that's like my favorite, one of my favorite ones. But I feel like it's probably not. He's not in there. You know what? I'm gonna say Gigan and be wrong because I can't think of another one I think would be in there.
Nope, it's Megalon.
Megalon. Okay. That's still a decent selection.
It's the Megalon I think is the wild card in that bunch, but I think they kind of wanted to put something for everybody in there,
Right. Oh, no, I'm sure there's like a Megalon super fan somewhere. Which Megalon's a cool looking kaiju. He got the drill looking hands. Of course, I had to look this up. Wait, yeah.
Yeah, he's like the bug looking one with like the weird like pokey hands. Like I just want the Godzilla versus Gamera game.
Oh man, if we could ever get Gamera versus
Yeah,
Godzilla, I would be
yeah,
ecstatic.
yeah. Gamera. It's got to be Gamera and King Kong versus Godzilla though. Like
Hey, look, what if they low key sneaking Gamera into this next movie? Like they're just not telling anybody, because no.
that'd be pretty great.
There are just literally board games about everything. There's board games about knitting. There's a game called Patchwork. There's board games about chai tea. There's board games about cats. Like there are so many board game options out there for
Right.
everybody, licensed or even just like, random things. One of my favorite games that's actually a solo board game. I know that sounds weird. They exist.
Oh,
It's called Coffee Roaster, and you're building a bag of beans, of perfectly roasted beans. And then whenever you feel like you're ready, you blind pull from the bag a certain amount of beans, and then you see from that what like how good the coffee is if you've created a good coffee. So there are some beans in there that are like not quite roasted yet, so they hurt the flavor a little bit, or sometimes the flavors won't match together, or maybe the bean is like over roasted so it's like burnt. But that's really cool, and there's a game about it.
I think one of the first games that I played with Steph and her friends at this bar was honestly about gardening. So good times.
well, yeah. Well, I
what
mean, that's
what game was that?
well,
I don't remember the name of it, but I remember like you had a specific plot line, and you were trying to fill it up with different things, and they had like pots in there that you couldn't put on spaces. Yeah, I can't remember what that game was, but that was honestly like the first time playing with John and April, I think, or John Casey. Yeah.
Yeah, Cottage Garden is the name of that game. There's also cats in it too.
but yeah, the I was gonna say was that the broad appeal of games, like you said, with the different IPs or just the different levels of difficulty, interest, or like you said, even solo games. Because you got to have like that variety and that appeal to them, which is I think has been key to something else that you were involved with. Don't know how much you can talk about your time with them, but you mentioned earlier that you did work for under Funko. And I think Funko's big success has been the variety of IPs that they have for these toys. Uh, are you able to, or kind of like talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Funko, it doesn't always translate if they have the license for a toy. It doesn't always translate to we can get the license for a board game,
Right.
because licenses are like so like intricate. Some of them are real tight. Like I don't know if you could tell, but all the Marvel Funkos are bobbleheads, and that's because it's like a specific license, and they're not allowed to have the other license or something for them.
I did
That
not
might have
notice that.
changed now, but most of them at some point were bobbleheads, and
Oh,
that was part of the reason was something involved in licensing. I am not in the licensing department.
right,
This
of
is
course.
just me as an employee from what I remember. So
Right, right.
don't quote me. But yeah, it was a lot of fun getting to know like movies and characters that were going to show up later, and because we have to obviously create the product for it to be ready for whenever that thing is going to come out.
Right.
I do miss being in the know on that kind of stuff for sure. Some stuff they don't even tell us though. I did not know that the child was going to exist, for example.
Oh, I'm sure that was tight lip.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, leaks happen all the time, right?
Right.
We do sign NDAs, so you can and people have been let go from the company for breaking their NDA.
Right.
So don't do that. If you work for a company with an NDA, by the way, please
Right.
respect it, because it's not fun, right? To leak that kind of stuff. But can you imagine, like, what if that ruined the success of Mandalorian if something like that got leaked?
Oh,
Listen, I'm not saying you have to go around and tell everybody. I'm just saying like if you have that information and that shit's coming out, do some insider trading. Buy some stocks in Star Wars or something. Let's make a little bit of money.
I think it's safe to say get stocks in Star Wars, even if you don't have insider knowledge.
That's true.
You
That's
just
true.
own a part of Star Wars in general.
Just always be buying Star Wars, basically, is what you're saying.
In a sense, I mean, no.
Yeah. Especially this week. Oof.
Oh,
Good stuff. Yeah,
oh,
I'm ready.
That Mandalorian's been fantastic show. But
Yeah, we've been loving it.
But yeah, like I say, I'm a big fan of Funko myself. I collect the entire My Hero Academia line that I can, which God bless they keep making so many damn variants and exclusives. I can't keep up, but I try my damnedest. As well as I got some sporadic ones of just stuff I like in general, like from Monster Hunter to Marvel. Which again, I'm really trying to think. I wish they weren't all packed up. I'd check every one of my Marvels to see if they're all bobbleheads. See if that's still a thing. Cause I noticed some I was getting were bobbleheads. I didn't realize that was like at least an early, if not still going, like requirement.
Yeah, that was essentially because of Stephanie. She told them to stop doing bobbleheads. So no, just kidding.
I do prefer the non-bobble.
Me too. To be
I don't know what it is. Something about the bobble just feels kind of dated.
Yeah.
No hate if you love the bobble, if you're a listener and you love the bobble, but to me it just, I think because my grandpa had like some weird bobble had like those golf figure things. Like, I don't know. It just was creepy. And I didn't like it. And I think about that. So I just think of like old and creepy.
Like, listen, though, if you live in a state that has frequent like minor earthquakes, could you imagine how cool it would be to have like a humongous bobblehead collection when those earthquakes go off?
Right. But now I'm thinking about it. And it's even though it's not a Marvel property, it was part of the Marvel versus Capcom 2-pack that I got the Monster Hunter with Black Panther, and they're both bobbleheads, and that Hunter is the only one of the Monster Hunter line that's a fucking bobblehead. And I remember that bothering me because like none of the others are bobbles. But I guess because it's part of it, I guess maybe that was required as well.
Yeah, that's very disappointing.
Like I'm that anal retentive collector where it's like you got to have, they all need to be the same, either bobble or non-bobble. But I'm with Stephanie though. I'm anti-bobble. I'd prefer they weren't if I had a choice.
Stop the bobble.
Did we just start a movement?
We're taking a stand here and now.
Yeah, I think we started a movement.
Yeah, the revolution.
Speaking of Funko, there is a game called Funkoverse, and there are several different like little Funko Pops in the game. They're kind of smaller versions,
right? And
you can like mix and match, and that's pretty cool if you're into that type of thing. It's like a little sort of skirmish strategy battle game where two teams will play against each other, and you could put whoever you want in your team. So I could have like Batman and the shark from Jaws and Gretzko versus Jerry's I don't know.
His stuff, his things, whatever.
His losing team. No, Game of Thrones, Rick and Morty, Golden Girls. Yeah.
That's neat,
so there's a bunch of different properties, and they keep coming out with new ones, like Nightmare Before Christmas just came out. So you can kind of mix and match, and there's different maps and items and stuff like that. So you can mix and match a lot of that. So that's kind of cool. Just another thing to enhance that, everything can be a board game.
Oh no doubt. I know I've seen them. I didn't really know what kind of like gameplay it was. I just saw one was Batman themed, and they had a mini Harley Quinn in there, and I want to get the game eventually just because there's a Harley Quinn figure in it. Throw it to the horde.
Yeah, of course you would.
You're damn right.
So talking about board games and everything being a board game, there was actually, and Steph and I will have to get back on it eventually, but there was actually an anime that we were watching on Hulu about board games. Are you aware of this, Sean?
I believe so. The name's escaping me, but I think I've at least seen it when I'm just kind of going through Hulu.
It is called Hokkaido Saikoro Club, and it is pretty neat. It's like it translates to After School Dice Club.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The American name is what? I see it on Hulu. Okay,
mm-hmm.
I know the title. I never watched it though.
Yeah, it was. It's really cool. They actually, so it's about these girls that get together and they have this after school club where they go to this board game shop and play board games, and you find out one girl's dream is to invent a board game, and it actually has licensed board games in it. So every time you see any board game on any shelf, it's the exact box art and stuff like that. And they'll go through and they'll play a board game and they'll like explain it in detail, like how to play and stuff. And it'll turn into, you know, one of those like strategy, like fighting anime and stuff where they're playing board games together. It was really cool, really fun show. I'm trying to remember. There was one board game that they had in it that I had a lot of fun with. Steph, what was the one where like you're like some kind of explorer and you're like going into a tomb or something like that?
Ink and Gold.
Yeah, that one was really fun, and they explained it really well in that. Yeah, it was. It's pretty cool, and it's like, you know, it really makes you want to play some board games, like really bad.
Well, once again, showing that literally anything can be an anime. I mean, making which and that's not a knock on the show, but like just anime's knack of making any subject interesting. You know, like that. You sold me. I might have to go check that one out now. When I
imagine. I mean, everyone in the board game industry was talking about it. Board game media, people that worked for board game companies like me, of course, were talking about it. And so some people probably watched that, had never having watched an anime before, and maybe now they're an anime fan.
Right? Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not a sports fan, but I've watched my share of like sports anime, and I mean, like Vanetta, my wife, she got completely obsessed with one about Go or Shogi. It was about one. It was one of those two games, and I know she like watched all of it and was just like, "Have you heard of this? Everyone calls it chess, but it's nothing like. They call it Japanese chess, but it's nothing like that. So it's nothing like Japanese chess, or I mean, it's nothing like chess."
Was that Haikyuu?
Haikyuu, I think that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know she don't know nothing about the damn game, but she loved that anime, and to me that's the beauty of anime. I mean, I remember I watched one called Giant Killing. I was like, the title just sounded cool, so I checked it out, and it's about soccer. But it was a damn good anime about soccer.
Yeah, and they've, other than like a lot of the board games they have nowadays, they've put in a lot of board games in because, a lot of like Japanese and Chinese strategy and stuff like that was originally, based around predicting your opponent's moves and stuff like that. And I mean, even like, we've talked about Hunter x Hunter a couple times on this. They had like one of their most emotional scenes in that entire series was wasn't that a game of Go that they were playing in that? Or is it Shogi or Shogi?
Shogi. Possibly. I'm going blank. I don't know if I ever made it that far.
Oh,
unless it was during
you need to get that far.
Yeah, like we had mentioned before, like after the Hunter exam and seeing Killua's family, and then like, yeah, we need money. Let's go do another tournament arc. I just didn't care.
Right.
But yeah, y'all. But you said y'all been watching some more animes or anything y'all been watching together, or any shows y'all been getting into lately?
Oh, you want me to answer? He looked at me.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see. What do we just finish? We need to get caught up on Fire Force, God of High School. What do we just finish?
We are currently in the middle of Jujutsu Kaisen and Digimon are the two big ones that we've been keeping up with lately.
Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen has been excellent. It'll be going through until the end of December, I believe, because the new stuff will be in January.
I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd dig that series.
Yeah, that one's good. God of High School. Yeah, y'all can. I mean, it's just fight after gloriously animated fight. It's that one's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. I'm actually getting excited to start when I get some time to read the manhwa that is based on. Have y'all?
Promised Neverland is coming. The new season is coming out soon, right? Because they put the first season on Netflix, so that's one I would like to watch. I enjoyed that. I really loved Dr. Stone, so I look forward to more of that. Of course, My Hero.
Right.
We also did Inspector, was interesting. It was kind of a short one, but that one had a bunch of yokai on there. So hey, if you're a yokai delinquent, then check out the yokai on that one.
Apparently, I need to get on the ball. I did not see Inspector. So gotta look into that one. The one I know I talked to with Jerry about it. I don't know. It's got that video game isekai feel though. As I stand on a million lives. Other than that and Jujutsu Kaisen are the two I'm watching from this current season. Really.
Yeah, we actually watched the first episode on that. I Stand on a Million Lives, and we've been meaning to go back to it because yeah, it is right up our alley. Oh, and something else that we're just waiting on. I don't even think they've announced it yet though. Is Shield Hero, the second season of that?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. They've. I've seen a list compiled. It looked like an official list of what all's coming just in this next. It's not spring. So I guess they still call it the winter anime. But like, yeah, we got Rise of Shield Hero. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Doctor
What
Stone.
about Demon Slayer? Is Demon Slayer is gonna
Well,
continue, right?
it'll definitely continue because like the movie, which is the next arc, unfortunately. So I'm really hoping Crunchyroll, or because they got the U.S. streaming like, are gonna put it out over here in some way because you have to watch the new movie, which is doing gangbusters in Japan. So yeah, so that's gonna have that, and then yeah, I mean the anime's got to continue. Like the manga has ended, but it's still one of the most super no super popular series not only over there but over here as well. So yeah, I'm sure I haven't heard about the new season yet, but it's got to be coming. And like I said, of course, My Hero, which I don't think that one's not coming to the spring because usually it runs 2 seasons a year, from spring through summer. But yeah, I mean, we got a ton, and like Doctor Stone, I've been reading the manga, and it's only going to get more and more fun.
There is a Death Note board game.
Oh, is it not just a notebook?
I mean, there's actually yeah, it's just a notebook. Surprise. There's a My Hero one too. It's like a card game. I've never played it, so I can't. I don't know if it's good or not.
I've seen
Attack on Titan. There's one for that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a big boom in anime themed board games too that are coming out. So that's, of course, that's awesome. Just more options.
Most of them tend to be more cards, so like card games,
right.
Deck builders, or like battle type of card games. I think that anime just sort of lends really well to that, but I think there are some more like in-depth ones. And again, Agretzko is a character in Funkoverse. You can play as Agretzko.
Which of course Agretzko is just an amazing anime.
Yeah, she has a chainsaw as one of her items. It's pretty great.
Yeah, we had not watched that, and we watched it because I needed, to know about it.
Right. Have you watched all the seasons?
No, not all of them, but I think we just watched the first season.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But it was good. I thought it was interesting. I liked it. It was fun. I think it got to be a little sort of samey for me. So I don't know, how jazzed I am about watching season 2 because there's just so many things to watch.
Right.
But I guess I would probably give it a try.
I would absolutely tell you to do that because season 2 and season 3, every season has its own tone. And I'll tell you this is a little like maybe throwing out the bait a little bit to try and get you hooked back into it. Season 3 gets dark as shit. Like they address some problems that are in Japan on like a mature level. Like like cuz the first one I agree with you on that cuz I liked it, but wasn't super sold. Of course I bought stuff for Vanetta cuz she absolutely loved it. But then like season 2 dives into a different thing to kind of show more about the adult life of Japan, and doing that. And then 3 got into like I'll go ahead and give a little bit more of it. It dives into the dark world of the idols.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
And it doesn't hold back. Like I mean, we're not talking. Of course, it's not going like super super mature, super dark, or like R-rated kind of anything, but it does show like the idle life and the obsessive fans and how it kind of just shows a little bit of that with of course balance in life and hobbies and all that. Like yeah, it was a very mature season. It was an excellent season. Probably my favorite one, honestly, out of the 3. So I would definitely like try to push you when you have time because I know y'all are watching. There's only so much time to watch stuff in a day.
Right. Yeah. There is so much to watch. Oh my goodness.
Which
we have a backlog for sure.
Which isn't a bad thing. You can never say you don't have entertainment. Like I'm
It's
still
true.
I'm supposed to be there's so many movies and shows. Like, with me trying to kind of get more movie reviews done on my channel, it's been like, but I've been watching more shows lately, and I don't know, I'm just not ready to jump into like talking about an entire season, which is kind of hard for me to do.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of funny, like you mentioned, we have such a huge backlog of stuff to watch, but that does not stop us from like going through and looking for something to watch for like 3 hours on Netflix, Hulu, and Prime.
Right.
And then like stumbling onto something that has the star power of Jason Momoa, Jim Carrey, and Keanu Reeves that no one has ever heard of before. And it was an interesting movie. Have you heard of Bad Batch on Netflix?
I have not.
Put it on your list. It's an
Okay.
interesting
Bad
it's an
Batch.
interesting film.
Okay. Now, like the only Bad Batch I know is from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of whenever we found the movie.
Okay, I'm making a little note. That might be a good review. Of course, have to credit you, Jerry, and yell at you if I don't like it in my review.
Yeah, exactly. If you hate it,
If it's
then it
another
was Steph
Mandy,
I did the whole time.
yeah, if it's another Mandy, we're gonna have a whole show where I'm just yelling at you about your taste in movies.
Wait, you didn't like Mandy?
Mandy was garbage. Like,
I will give him a redeeming point for liking the Color Out of Space, though.
Color Out of Space was amazing. Mandy was Nick Cage doing a quick. I can do a wacky culty. It's going to get a cult following trying too hard, which had a terrible build up into a decent crazy ending. I wasn't like Nick Cage is that actor that can go batshit insane and make it work, but it doesn't work all the time for me.
It appears that the director is Anna Lily Amirpour. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they're Persian. So
Right.
looks like they directed another movie called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night 2 years before Bad Batch. So I think we know what we have to do, Jerry. I think we have to watch that. And another one coming up, it says TBD, called Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon. And Cliffhanger is another one.
Interesting. I'm down if we want to jump into this movie verse.
which is always fun, especially when you discover like a director that completely wows you, and you want to look up their body of work. Like I'm sure like Pulp Fiction did that a lot for people who built up into Tarantino fans. I know I looked up. I was saddened when I found out the guy who did Witch had only. I don't think he did anything before, or not Witch, but like Witch or Lighthouse. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
He only done like a couple. I'm like,
yeah,
I need more of this style.
Yeah, I think they literally didn't do anything until Witch, and then they also did Lighthouse,
Yeah.
and that was it. So yeah, I mean, but if it gives us any indication, they're just getting started,
Oh, for
so
sure.
we can definitely look forward to movies from them in the future.
Yeah, which is just like for me, it's like like I got put onto a movie called Bone Tomahawk. And then of course you look at that one, which was an excellent western with a heavy horror theme mixed into it. If y'all haven't seen that one, you can check that one out. I highly recommend that one. But you also then you find out that director did it was like the Brawl in Cell Block 99 or something like that with Vincent D'Onofrio just being a badass. Or not Vincent D'Onofrio. Well, I can't think right now. We're running low on time. But yeah, like I love, as a movie guy and a movie buff, I do love just diving into directors when I can. Because
Oh yeah,
you can follow your favorite actors, and you can kind of hit or miss. But when you find that director that really clicks, even if it's Mandy, I don't know if like that director has done anything else. I know y'all enjoyed it. So
they actually have, and honestly, I think I've had people recommend some of that person's other films over Mandy, so I might have to check that out.
Well, let me know, because just because I didn't enjoy Mandy doesn't mean I won't check out their other works. Every director has, whether it's, of course, this is all my subject to my opinion. you know, Even if you don't start off with something good, or you have your falls. You could love, like, I don't love all of Tarantino's movies, but I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan.
Right. Yeah, and it looks like they're Panos Cosmatos is a Greek-Canadian film director and
Oh,
screenwriter. The movie that everyone else was recommending was called Beyond the Black Rainbow, and if the title doesn't intrigue you enough, it looks fucking amazing.
actually, it sounds familiar. I'll have to look into that here in a little while.
Yeah.
But
Just from screenshots, it looks creepy as fuck.
well, as I said, we are unfortunately running low on time, so I think we're going to have to just kind of wrap it up. Stephanie, thank you once again for coming on to our show to talk with us. Is there anything you want to kind of advertise, put out there, or even recommend anything for our listeners out there?
Yeah, I certainly recommend checking out some board games. And we didn't really talk about RPGs, so maybe you'll have to cover that on another future episode with someone else. But
Oh no, we'll definitely do
I
that.
work, yeah, I work for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, and they are a charity organization that represents children's hospitals all across the world, but mostly in North America, Canada, U.S. So if you are feeling charitable during this season, I might ask you to consider making a donation to your local children's hospital. And if you want to do so in a fun way, there is a program called Extra Life, and you can play games, video games, board games, RPGs, whatever you want, to help raise money for sick kids. So yeah, that's actually sort of what I'm doing now. Is I work with the Extra Life program and some other programs with the hospital. So it kind of all ties in to board games still for me somehow.
Awesome.
So
No, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm making a note so when this episode goes live, I'll have a link to that. I'm sure they have a website or something like that. I can.
yeah, I have a link I can give you
Awesome.
if you want to
Even better.
donate to my page, which will go to a local children's hospital. Then you can do so. I don't get the money. I don't touch the money. It all goes directly to the hospital. So
Oh, awesome. Perfect.
um, yeah. And if you want to check me out on social media, I am on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Steam, like everything as Steph Straw Games.
Awesome. Sounds good. And we'll, like I said, when we put this video out, I will definitely have links to everything you want, so y'all can go find Stephanie and see all the awesome stuff she's getting involved in. But as I said, this is gonna have to do it for today. If you like what you heard, please like drop a comment. Tell us like some of your favorite board games that you love playing. Maybe there's some we haven't even Stephanie or Jerry may not have even heard of. I know I haven't heard of 90% of them, so I would love to see some recommendations.
There's no such thing as a game that Stephanie has not heard of, I promise you.
That sounds like
There's probably a few, but generally, if you do that, hey, what's that game with the blah 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 with the blah 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 the blah blah blah? If you give me enough info, I'm like, oh, it's probably
yeah.
this.
Well, then we have a challenge. Stump Stephanie. We're going to see if we get any comments on that. But thank y'all once again for tuning in. And as always, we will catch y'all later.
Peace.